So in this session we're going to look at finding a rule for one-step equations. So have a look. We've got all of these numbers on the left hand side. We've got a box in the middle. Now we don't know what happens in this box, but we know that once that number goes into that box and comes out again, it is then that number. So -2 goes in and this mystery operation happens, and then it turns into 13. 60 goes into the mystery operation box and it comes out with 75. 112 goes into the mystery operation box and comes out with 127. So what happens to every single one of those numbers to get from -2 to 13, to get from 60 to 75, to get from 112 to 127? That's it, they're adding 15, aren't they? So there's a mystery operation in that box that is saying add 15. Let's have a look at this then. We've got number of dogs across the top of our table and number of legs. Now we know that a dog has 4 legs. So we know if you've got one dog, the number of legs you've got would be 4 legs. Now, if we had 2 dogs, we know there's going to be double the amount, don't we? Because there's 4 legs on each dog. So that would go up to 8. Now we could carry on all the way down here, or we could come up with a formula to help us work this out. Because otherwise you've got 20 dogs and you've got to try and sit there and count all of the legs. Now what is happening from that number to that number? What are we doing to our input to get our output? We're timesing it by 4, and that will work for everyone. So whatever our input is, whatever our number of dogs is, if we times that number by 4, we're going to know how many legs there are. So for 4, we're timesing that by 4, which will give us 16. So instead of sitting there and counting all of the legs on 4 dogs, we know that there's 16 legs altogether. The same with this one. 5 times 4 is 20. Now this is particularly useful for when we have got a big number of dogs, because we can just say 20 times by 4. We know that there is going to be 80 legs altogether. Now we can write this as an equation, because this number could change. It could be whatever. That is our input. We could write that as x, because that could be any number from 1 to 1,000,000 dogs. We are timesing that number by 4, because for everyone to get our output, we're timesing it by 4. So you can either write that as an equation of 4 times x, which will give you the number of legs, or, because mathematicians are lazy, they don't like writing x there, so they'd write it as 4x equals, and then we'd know our number of legs. All that x means is, if we had 30 dogs and we wanted to work out the number of legs, we would put 30 in place of x. So we'd do 30 times 4, which would then give us 120 legs. That doesn't necessarily need to be an x. That can be any letter. It just shows that any quantity can be inputted. What I want you to have a go at doing is trying to work out what goes into each of these blank boxes. So for this one we've got 27. Something happens to 27 to make 29. Can you work out what goes in that box? This one we've got 27 minus 3. Can you work out what goes in that box? And this one we've got something, add 9 equals 40. So can you work backwards from 40 to work out what goes into this box? Let's have a look then. So we've got 27. What are we adding to 27 to get to 29? We're adding 2. So that's what goes in that box. 27 take away 3, we have got 24. And finally we're going to work backwards, so 40 take away 9 will give us 31. because if we want to double check this, 31 add 9 equals 40.